Okay, now let's get into cars and driving them. Can I really afford to drive that? That's the big question. Question of the day. You're probably going to get a car sometime in your lifetime. Planning well in your car purchase is going to save you thousands of dollars, and it's going to avoid the embarrassment of having your car repossessed. Your car payment will be the second biggest item on your budget, right behind where you live. Now, learning to fit a car into your budget means getting to know all the costs that go with having a car. Just like we talked about with having your own place, furniture, or electricity, guess what? It's no different when it comes to cars. Car loans. Car loans are a very important part of the puzzle. Just like with renting a place and building your credit history, paying the full amount of your car loan payment on time every month will positively build your credit. Early payments on a car loan will actually lower the total interest you'll end up paying over your lifetime. So if you can afford to throw some extra payments at your car loan, make those early payments. It will save you over time. If you don't plan on keeping the car for a long time though, like let's say more than 4 or 5 years, and you end up selling it or you plan to sell it eventually, consider saving or investing that money instead. It's really all about what you plan to do with the car and how long you plan to keep it. Do the math, figure out which direction will save you or make you more money over a 2-year and a 5-year time frame, and then you'll be in a better position to decide what you want to do with that extra money. Now, I can offer you a few tips for car buying success. Of course, number 1, the B word, budget first, okay? Make sure you know what you're getting into. How much can you actually afford? Consider the payment for the car. But the payment for the car is not the end of the story. There's also DMV registration costs. That's the Department of Motor Vehicles. You'll get to know those folks as you mature. Insurance. You'll get to know them very well as well. And of course, there's always maintenance and repairs. And let's not forget gasoline. So making the car payment is not the only part of having a car that you drive. The next thing is focus on what you need from a car first before you get into the wants for the car. We already talked about needs versus wants, okay? Versus wants, okay, in a previous segment, but this is especially applicable when you're talking about cars. So a good example of a need for a car is, does it get good gas mileage? In other words, how many miles can I drive for every full tank of gas? A want would be heated seating and moonroof. It's a want, it's nice to have, but you don't need it, I assure you. Number 3, do your homework, research, okay? Make sure that once you've decided on the make and the model that you want, that you do everything in your power to look around, read online, but also ask around. Ask your friends if they know anyone, maybe the parent of someone who has the car you want, or a neighbor or whoever. See how they like it. There's nothing more powerful than a personal review of the car. You get a lot of insight that way, so ask around, do your research, okay? Number 4, there's something when it comes to cars called the Kelley Blue Book. And this is basically a value system that everybody looks at, okay? It's a good starting point for negotiations, and again, everyone knows about it. Different people have different rules on how this value of a car should be used. Some people believe slightly above, some slightly below. I'm not a car expert, but do a little more homework on Kelley Blue Book and see how that helps you in terms of getting a car, okay? It's a good standard price for the car that you have. It considers things like how old is the car and all of that, okay? One suggestion I have, you don't have to follow this, but a lot of ways that you could save. One way you could save a lot of money, especially on your first car, is to buy it used. There's a lot of great stuff out there, a lot of great cars that have had a previous owner. Now, one thing to keep in mind is new cars have a lot more expenses tied to them at the beginning. So also consider, certified pre-owns. That's usually offered by dealerships, and many times they'll have a warranty tied to the car as well. Okay? Watch out for warranties because sometimes dealerships like to charge extra for that. So try to negotiate to get it in as a throw-in if you can. Warranties are always a good idea, okay? But not when you're paying more for it than you should. When you go into the dealership, try to go in toward the end of the month, the last few days of the month. They're typically more motivated, to use a previous word, motivation, to work with you and get you the kind of deal that you need to make it affordable and make sense for you, okay? Another thing you could do that's really going to help you, make you look smart and save you a lot of money, is to get pre-qualified before you even walk onto the lot. This is always a good idea, okay? Consider credit unions, which are an alternative to a bank. Banks are fine, but credit unions also have their place. They offer great rates on car loans and education loans, so also take advantage of credit unions. Later on, once you've built a good track record with a credit union or a bank, they can help you get great rates on mortgages and other loan needs that you might have, including starting your own business. So keep that in mind, okay? Try to keep your loan period, if you get a car loan, to equal to or less than 3 years or 36 months. Don't commit yourself beyond that, okay? Because chances are a new doohickey, a new car, a new fancy this is going to come out. Hopefully you'll be earning more by then and you'll be able to afford a nicer, newer, better car. So keep that in mind. Now, definitely check the Carfax report. This is a company that basically delivers all of the history data about your car and what it's been through, what repairs it's had. Read one carefully, learn how to read those things very carefully. There's all kinds of symbols and terminology with dealing with a Carfax. You definitely want to watch out for something called salvage title or anything similar. Salvage title means the car has been damaged to a point where it can never be brought back to its original value. It means stay away. Be very careful for salvage title. Lots of folks lose lots of money because they don't do their homework on the credit or the Carfax. Okay? Another thing you can do to make your life simple and smart is to have an insurance resource or agent lined up before you step onto the lot, okay? Get the right coverages. Don't get just the minimums. The minimums are many times not enough. Now, another thing you can definitely do is check out the Carfax report. This is basically a history of all the repairs and everything your car has been through. Make sure to avoid something called salvage title. This is terminology you're going to get to know. Salvage title means the car has been damaged to a point where it can never be brought back to its original value. Essentially what it means is stay away. Learn how to read a Carfax report. There's all kinds of symbol and terminology that goes into it. It's a great skill to have. It'll serve you many times in the future. Finally, what you can do, so that was number 7 was Carfax. The number 8 thing you can do and final thing you can do is take care of your insurance. Okay, have someone lined up before you hit the lot. Okay, don't get just the minimum coverages. In cities like Los Angeles and big cities like that, the minimum coverages are typically not enough. Liability means that if you hurt someone or damage someone else's property, including their car or whatever else, you're going to have to pay a lot of money to fix it. So make sure you're covered. Thank you. Now let's get into the because you know this, you will avoid segment of can I afford to drive that? Because you know how to budget for your car, because you know all the steps involved, for getting the car that you can afford, you're going to avoid a lot of major unexpected expenses that are going to put a huge damper on your parade and ruin your budgeting, okay? Cars and not having the right car for your needs end up being a major expense for people. It makes life extremely inconvenient. You can't get to work, you can't get to school, you can't get to see your friends. Why? Because your car is broken, because you didn't do the homework you needed to get the right car that matches your financial situation. So because you know all this about having the right car and doing your research when it comes to getting a car, you're going to avoid a ton of frustration and anxiety.